As judges issue temporary rulings to pause Trump's sweeping executive actions on constitutional grounds, Team Trump is working overtime to discredit America's legal system, with Elon Musk and even J.D. Vance accusing judges of being secret Democratic activists. There's no evidence to support that, by the way, and suggesting the administration could ignore court rulings altogether. George Conway is back with us.
Can I just jump on a point real quick? The judges who are stopping Trump now, like the judges who stopped him around January 6th, and the election before that, are Republican judges.
Many of them, yeah.
But he has scrambled that. He has scrambled.
Many of them appointed by him.
That is so old school of us, because you're still thinking of it the way I think of it, which is Democrats, Republicans, progressives, conservatives. He has made it inside and out.
Right.
These people are part of the institution, and thus they are part of the deep state.
Regardless of the fact that he appointed them.
Mm-hmm. Because regardless of the fact that he himself was president of the United States, he somehow convinced people that he was once again an outsider.
He's trying to delegitimize the legal system, I think, so that it is very easy for him to ignore the laws, and then the people will be with him. Because the people are like, yeah, these activist judges, and it's like, what? The judges can only consider the cases brought before them. The judges aren't going out here being like, I hereby decree. People are bringing cases, and they are ruling, not with some animus towards Trump, but like, for the law. Yeah. This is law being applied fairly.
And to Simone's point, prosecutors are prosecuting.
You persuaded me.
Well,
we like to violently agree.
Right. I agree with everything you're saying.
But they're prosecuting because elements of a crime have been brought in front of them, mm-hmm. and they, by order of their sworn oath, follow the crime. Right. And if the crime happens to lead to your death, Donald Trump, because of something you did, that's not political, that's not personal. That's just the way the system works for every other brother and sister out here on the street.
The way I look at it is Donald Trump is a criminal sociopath. You tick off the definition of a sociopath. They don't want to obey laws, they don't want to obey rules, they don't think they apply to them. And Donald Trump has no moral conscience and no empathy. Mm-hmm. He does not care about anybody else other than Donald Trump, which is why in his first term he said, Article 2 lets me do whatever I want, Article 2 of the Constitution. Mm-hmm. The first Trump term, which I call Shit Show 1, mm-hmm. Was a was an assault on the rule of law, but it was only like it was like cancer. It was like a stage 1, maybe stage 2. We got to stage 2 right around January 6th. Mm-hmm. And he was a threat to the rule of law. And then he went into remission. Now he's back. We're at stage 3. Stage 3 is basically where we are ignoring laws and running roughshod over laws. I mean, they're basically refusing to spend money appropriated by Congress. Which is against the law. The law requires the president to spend money. The president can't not spend the money that's been allocated for particular subjects. And you've got this guy who's not been appointed lawfully under the Constitution.
Let's talk about that.
Musk. Yep. And so that's stage 3. Stage 4 is going to be, well, these courts are telling me not to obey orders. Why should I don't want to obey the law, so why am I obeying the courts? And stage 4 is metastasis. Stage 4 is when democracy can die, and the rule of law can die, and constitutionalism can die. And we unless something happens radically, I can't see how we don't get to stage 4, because the logical path that they are taking, which is that the law doesn't apply to us, and nobody can enforce the law against us.
Yes, they're saying these activist judges are saying these things. We can't take the judges seriously. They literally are like, by they I'm talking about J.D. Vance, Donald Trump himself, Elon Musk, are saying, since when can a judge tell the president what to do?
So I want you to riddle something out for me, which is, let's say Elon Musk goes after CFPB, has his fingerprints all over CFPB, given that he has a business interest before CFPB that would benefit. Right. Then you have people saying, well, then you could have charges of criminal conflict of interest that were brought. Those charges, though, would have to be brought by Trump's DOJ, correct? Okay. So I think given what we are watching, that seems unlikely. What then is the legal mechanism?
Oh, it's worse than that.
Okay.
Okay, it's worse. Everyone around Trump feels like they are immune from prosecution. Okay? And that includes Musk. It includes a guy like a Boris Epstein who tried to hold people up for cabinet positions. It includes everyone around him. They have no fear of ever being investigated. If you're friendly with Trump, like Mayor Adams, you get a pass. And even if the Justice Department were highly unlikely to charge you, guess who could give you a pardon if you go back and kiss the ring? Okay? So, but it's worse than that. You point out that the Justice Department isn't going to prosecute any of these minions. It's worse than that. The Justice Department is the only way courts can enforce orders. I'm a judge, and you do something in your court and you throw something at me. I can throw you in jail for civil contempt, okay, or criminal contempt. To enforce my orders, as a federal judge, I can have you thrown in jail. How do I do that? I say, Marshal, take her away. Guess who the U.S. Marshal Service works for?
Oh, my God.
The United States Department of Justice. And who does the United States Department of Justice report to? This is the problem. The courts have no police of their own. They have no army of their own.
Right.
The only thing that stands between us and utter lawlessness is our willingness, and in particular, the willingness of government officials, including and especially the President of the United States, to obey the court orders, even when they have good faith disagreements with those orders. And this president doesn't have good faith disagreement with these orders. He does not care. He is a lawless criminal. And we have basically a criminal regime. And if you believe that they are going to abide by court orders, they're not going to do it. They're already probably trying to slide around the court orders. But they're not quite yet in open defiance, but we will get there.
I think we get there much sooner than people may realize, because the speed of this matters. The speed with which they are coming at the system matters. If they did it slowly, give folks a chance to regroup and sort of collect themselves. But now you've got...
it's like a safety blitz. I mean, that's what they're doing.
One of them was this guy named Ed Sullivan. He's on his way out. He's retiring. But I was really alarmed when I heard that Bovee is having this meeting at Main Justice and public integrity. The irony does not escape any of us, right? He's having this meeting. It's an hour-long meeting, and he's like, somebody better take the fall for this. Somebody better sign this. And in the end, Ed Sullivan steps up. I mean, was this a, I love my pension, I want to keep my pension move by Ed Sullivan? Or was this a, I am going to come to everybody's kind of rescue, and I'm going to take it for the team?
Well, I think it was the latter. The reports are that a number of people, not just in the Southern District, but also at Main Justice in Washington, refused to go along with the Bovee order, clearly thinking that it was improper to do what he ordered to be done, and that he put all of these people in the public integrity section in a room and said, if one of you does not sign this, I think actually two of you do not sign this, I'm going to fire everyone. I mean, this is like a hostage situation. It's very interesting, as you said, there are two people who signed the actual motion. But if you look at it, Katie, it's really fascinating. While those two career prosecutors have signed it, they actually don't make any factual representations. All of the representations are that Emil Bovee, the acting deputy attorney general, has found X, that Emil Bovee wants me to do this. They actually don't sort of perjure themselves or say anything other than this is what he wants us to do. So that gives one more reason for Judge Ho to ask a lot of questions, because the two of the three people who are signing this submission are really not representing anything other than Emil Bovee is saying this is what he wants. So it was sort of carefully done on their part to not have to own what it is that Emil Bovee is doing here.
Yeah, and it was not only carefully crafted, Andrew, but there was a footnote on page 1 of this filing that made it clear that Main Justice had to enter an appearance on this case because of the Southern District of New York lawyers. Remember, they got suspended. They got suspended by Emil Bovee on this case, so they're not even on this case anymore. I mean, it is a Pandora's box. I think Bovee sorely miscalculated on this. Bondi, Trump,
So, folks, what we're seeing here are judges slam Trump. Now, whether he's going to listen to them or not remains to be seen. But I can tell you one thing. The person that's angry most of all right now, the people, are the conservatives on the Supreme Court. Because, again, they have evil plans. I want to make this clear. I am not defending them. And there are going to be moments, plenty of them, over the next 4 years where Trump loses Supreme Court cases. He won't lose every one, but the Supreme Court understands itself as a political body now. I've talked about this. I know the dream, the philosophy, the ideal is that the courts are not political, that judges are not politicians. But given in the U.S. that, one, some judges are literally elected, but two, all judges are appointed in a very partisan manner nowadays. They understand themselves as political operatives, not very much different than a regular senator or congressman, right? And they also understand that they need to pick and choose when they lurch to the right and far right. And Trump makes this a lot harder. Very much so, the job of the Supreme Court judges, the 6-3 split, was easier when Biden was president. Because Biden wasn't doing crazy stuff all the time. Cases came to them in a relatively slow and predictable manner, and they could just choose when to take their shot. Because Biden wasn't doing anything wrong, right? Trump is breaking laws left, right, and center, and breaking them so egregiously, they are forced. Republican and conservative judges are forced to go against him. We talked about this. Remember Judge Cannon, all the way back when this all kicked off, she put that special master on the case, and I guarantee you and everybody else that even the Supreme Court, they're gonna go against him, and all up and down the courts they did, not because they're good people, because Donald is so buffoonishly evil, he makes the job of other evil people impossible.